And mics are live. Welcome in, everybody. Dr. John Lott joining us. Make sure if you're watching us on social media, X, please like and share the posts to your social
Rare
media
weekday
accounts.
appearance.
Yeah, rare weekday appearance for John. This is going to be fun, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a fun conversation today. Big news coming out of Washington, as you likely know.
This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by X Insurance. X Insurance. From the SIG Sauer Studios. On the Patriot Mobile Platinum Microphone. Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense begins right now here in the SIG Sauer Studios. I am Mark Walters, of course, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day in front of this Patriot Mobile Communication Command Center microphone. It's all brought to you by the great X Insurance. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing, brother?
Not too bad. Try not to freeze my butt off.
Yeah, well, thanks for sending it up our way. My little
You're
puppy
welcome.
dog wanted to go out last night at about 1:45 in the morning, and I got wind of it. Whew, it's cold.
Yeah, well, wait till today.
It's only 31 today, and it's going to drop down even to the teens for the next few days. But
We've been there.
It happens. It happens. Just send us some 70s. So what a big day in Washington today.
Yeah,
I teased the show coming up. I said Kash Patel on the cusp, basically. Kash Patel is in. And let's, I can do that too.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do. Don't I? I guess not.
Yeah,
Let's see. How about that?
that sounds a little off.
No, it doesn't sound right. Anyway.
It sounds off mic
Okay.
and out of the board.
Well, I'll tell you, it's big news because Kash is confirmed.
Definitely.
Oh, my gosh. The Democrats are beside themselves, going absolutely berserk. Greg, we're on every social media platform, streaming live. So it's going to be a fun show. We just tell people where to watch and participate in the chat, and then we'll go to our guest, Dr. John Lott.
Sure, you can head on over to X at AAR Mark. You can watch on Facebook at Armed American Radio with Mark Walters, I think. We're over on Rumble, same name, and YouTube, same name. That's it. And let's see, armedamericanradio.org or .com. Right-hand side of that website, you'll see that menu icon. Just give that a click, and when that window opens up, you can select that watch live option if you're driving. Hit that listen live link, and if you missed any previous episode of this program, you can head on over to the podcast link. If you'd like to join our live chat, all you have to do is just head on over to the App Store, grab the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Let's do it. Dr. John Lott, welcome to the program, my friend. Crimeresearch.org, more guns, less crime. More books than I can even name. I've read most of them, including the 3 editions of More Guns, Less Crime. John Lott, how you doing today, my friend? Thank you for being here. A very great time appearance. We appreciate it.
It's great to talk to you. You haven't read all my books? I'm really hurt.
Well, I was sitting here at the ranch one weekend, and I decided to dive in.
You have a ranch?
I don't know if that was a recording or not.
Yeah, it was a recording.
I think it was. Okay. So, John, I'm giddy today. I'm really excited about Kash Patel getting in with the FBI. I've met Kash Patel. I know you know Kash. And I really want to get your thoughts here. The deep state is very concerned about this. Sheldon Whitehouse has already made a buffoon of himself. And Greg just moments ago before we were live said, I think the real impact is going to be visible on, Friday, tomorrow, when it sinks in. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably pretty clear now. I think they've had plenty of months to kind of gear up for this, or at least a couple months to kind of get their mind around it. And I think they've known for a while that the only thing that they could do is kind of delay his confirmation. They've thrown up one roadblock after another, but they've just delayed the inevitable on this. So I don't know, maybe tomorrow, but I think they've already gotten their mind around this for a while. And Kash I've only talked to him one time, but he impressed me as a very bright guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, has some scalps under his belt with kind of unraveling a lot of the conspiracies against Trump during his first term there, and he's the type of guy who has a lot of administrative experience. He was chief of staff in the Department of Defense. You don't get much more administrative experience than helping run the Department of Defense there, and he has a big task ahead of him.
Oh, yes.
Trying to undo all the political biases and machinations in the FBI. I mean, it's more, and people concentrate on things like the FBI going after Catholics or going after, people who went to school board meetings or all the, spying on the Trump campaign and other things like that. But, it's more than that. I mean, you and I have talked about many of the data problems in the past with the FBI. And, I don't even know where he was going to start on all those things. And some of the things like clearing up the data problems are going to be very difficult because I think probably virtually everybody there is the type of person who's politically biased. And you can't, it's difficult to get rid of everybody because you have a lot of institutional knowledge that's there that's going to be difficult to just bring in entirely new people and keep the trains running on time.
John, you've spent time. Let me briefly apologize to those of you that are watching the show on the live stream. The clap, Greg, it's because my engineer is not in today. So the clapping was continuing. That was my fault. I apologize for those of you that are watching on the stream. So if you left and you're listening, come back. It's okay. It's been fixed. But nothing wrong with clapping. Clapping's a fun thing. John, you spent time in the DOJ. Talk to me about, I don't think people really understand how many people we're talking about that are inside, let's just say not the DOJ, but just the FBI. How many people work there? Any idea?
To be honest, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I would be surprised if you're talking about 6,000 or 7,000 in the national office there. It could be even more. It's a big building.
You're talking
There's
about
a lot
in
of
D.C.
people that are in there. Right, just in D.C.
Yeah. And, of course,
I mean,
field
nationwide, I don't
offices
know. We'll have to look it up.
So I'm certain, when I was talking with Donna Fiducia, former Fox News anchor yesterday, she mentioned that the most active search term on Google over the past week has been the phrase defense attorney. Okay. And I think real estate was
in
second.
D.C.
In D.C.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So obviously there's an awful lot of concern because that begs the question, why and who is searching for that and for what reason? Clearly there's fear there. And, I don't understand why Americans, if you go over to the Drudge Report right now, for example, I love going to the left-wing sites when I see great news like this because they're just pulling their hair out. They're going nuts. It's been really fun to watch. But you have to wonder, who doesn't want the rot removed? What kind of person doesn't want that fixed? I mean, are there really, help me out here. I probably know the answer to this question, but are there really people out there that like the rot?
It's pretty clear. Well, I mean, you have a situation where, it just came out yesterday that Stacey Abrams, who ran for governor twice in your state, was given $2 billion to go and deal with climate issues. And her expertise in the area is exactly what? It's just, it's not even, it's silly stuff, but it's $2 billion. What's she going to spend $2 billion on to deal with climate issues?
Okay, I have to go here. John, I have to go here. She knows what about, she's got her own gravitational pull. Oh, I just did that. I just said that. I can't believe I just said that. I have to fun on Stacey Abrams because she is so despised in this state. She really, truly is. And when news like that broke, of course, locally it was all over the place. The usual suspects support her. The rest of the state just can't stand it. But you're right. I mean, we're talking about this, and you have to wonder what normal person, what American citizen, what voter of any political stripe finds that to be okay when it's their money. That is lost on me. I'm not going to tell you I understand the psychology behind that because I do not. I don't know that ideology is that powerful because I want the rot out. I don't understand why a Democrat wouldn't want the rot out. They spend their tax dollars too. It just doesn't make sense to me. Sorry, I had to jump in. 30 seconds. Take us to the break.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously they have a lot of money at stake. $2 billion goes a long ways towards pushing Democratic causes, and that's just one person who got the money that's there. So I don't find this hard. I mean, somebody, this has been their cash cow. The government's been funneling huge amounts of money to Democrats and their supporters. Is it surprising?
No, and I understand why the bureaucrats and the Democrats who benefit from it want it, but not the average Joe Blow voter of any party. I think it's astonishing and fascinating to me that more people are just not, that everybody's not outraged by what they're finding in Washington, D.C. I think that day will come, though. We'll be back right after this with John Lott. 3 more segments, folks. Don't go away.
I'm not quite as grandiose as you.
Guys, sorry about the clapping going on in there.
Was that your phone that just kept playing the clapping?
No, it's the video production software, and the engineer is not here today, and I couldn't hear it because I have the sound off.
Right.
So I didn't know it was going on in the background. And then when I hit the volume, I heard it, and I'm like, oh, gosh, it's still going on. So I apologize for that, guys,
I didn't know if that was still playing like from your phone, like a really long sound bite.
No.
Or what?
It was coming off the video production software.
I couldn't hear
really
it. I could just see people saying that they could hear it. And I was like, I can't hear it.
Well, it happens. What can I tell you? Sometimes that stuff happens. I can't do it all here, especially if I can't hear it because I don't have speakers because anything I get on speakers is going to loop back through the microphone and all that. Then you got an issue. So forgive me, folks. I do apologize. It's actually kind of funny. Now, see, all I had to do was turn that off, but because I didn't have the speaker on, I didn't hear it, so. So I did glance at the chat, and I saw in there, oh, Mark, I think Angeline, God bless you, Angeline. Oh, Mark, turn the clapping down. That did not go out over the radio airwaves. That much I can tell you.
Yeah, no, that's why I couldn't hear it. And I was like, what are they talking about?
The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. If you're watching on the screen, I apologize for that background noise. I'm not the engineer here. But here is a Patriot Mobile phone, ladies and gentlemen. You can have a Patriot Mobile phone, too. And if you visit Armed American Radio or patriotmobile.com/AAR, you will see the Patriot Mobile deal that you get as a free month of service. So you can flip one phone, you can flip two, you can flip three, whatever you got. If you own all the phones, it's easier to just flip them all at one time. Or you can do it piecemeal, one at a time. It's up to you. patriotmobile.com/AAR. And don't forget all of our great partners, including Heaven's Harvest. They've got a great reminder for you. Storms in Kentucky, and I don't have to remind you what happened in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Tennessee. If you need emergency food supplies, Heaven's Harvest has you covered. Make sure to check them out, heavensharvest.com, and support the Llewellyn family, great Americans that support your right to bear arms through this program for many years. You can find all of our partners at armedamericanradio.com. We're going to go back to the great John Lott, founder of crimeresearch.org. Dr. John Lott, how are you, my brother? It's always fun to have you here.
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
So, John, I'll let you put an exclamation point on the Kash Patel thing. I'm just going to say I can't wait to watch this unfold. And I do want to ask you this. Are you having as much fun watching this unfold out of Washington as I am? I've never seen anything like this.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of damage to undo, and Trump's been going through it faster than I thought he would be able to, and I think probably most people thought he would be able to. But, you know, a lot still has to be done. We have the executive order that he just put in a week and a half ago or whatever on the Second Amendment.
Right.
Obviously, Pam Bondi and others have only 30 days to go through and identify all the government regulations, all the government laws, all the treaties that go and restrict people's Second Amendment rights. I mean, God only knows how much work that's going to be, just identifying all those things. And, you know, and then they have to analyze it. So they have a very tight timeline. I know Trump in his kind of executive order kind of told them to focus on stuff that had happened during the Biden administration, but even that's going to give them a fair amount of work in terms of, you know, most of it's going to be obvious, dealing with the Vanderstock case, going and dealing with the regulations that they have on who's a firearms dealer, making sure that the zero tolerance policy is completely removed, getting rid of the National Gun Registry database that the Biden administration put together. All those things, you know, are obvious, and I assume they're going to be taken care of fairly quickly. I mean, one of the reasons why I assume that they gave the 30-day timeline for that was to try to make sure that they took care of, you know, the Vanderstock case quickly before the Supreme Court rules on it to make the whole thing moot.
John, is 30 days enough time? I mean, look, you know as well as I do, time flies. That's quite an undertaking for 30 days.
You know, I mean, it's just even going and just identifying the cases is going to take a fair amount of time and effort. So, you know, it's, you know, let alone kind of evaluating them. I mean, I don't know how many people they're putting on this task. It could be quite a few people, but it's going to have to be a lot of people to make sure that they take care of it properly.
Now, you did a lot of work, obviously, on and exposed the fake crime numbers coming out of Washington from the FBI office. I have a gut feeling that, you know, I don't think we're going to see that happen from the FBI again. But how do you think Kash will handle that? Will he just let it go? Will he address it? Will he, if he does address it, how will he address it? Or will he just quietly fix the problem behind the scenes and we'll just see things better going forward so that we don't see that kind of crap again?
I don't know what he's going to be focusing on. He has so many different problems to go and focus on to begin with. I mean, a lot of things are very open, so I hope he can deal with the data. To me, the data's, maybe I'm biased because I deal with data all the time, but I think it's very important you let people on the left control the data. You let them control the debate. And what we should all care about is accurate data. We can't do the right policies to go and make sure we save people's lives if the data isn't accurate. We're going to make mistakes in terms of policing policy. We're going to make mistakes in terms of all sorts of other decisions that we're going to make if we don't have accurate data. But the politicization just during the election this last year was breathtaking. I mean, here you have for a whole year, the media is having headlines that say things like, crime is falling, but people mistakenly think that it's increasing.
Right.
And, it turns out that the opposite was happening. The original data for 2022 that was put out in like October 2023, the FBI claimed that violent crime rates had fallen by 2.1%. Well, and that's what David Muir used when he corrected Trump during the presidential debate that was there. But when they put out the data for 2023 in September of this last year, they changed the data for 2022. They didn't mention it in their press release. In their report itself with the details of the data, they just had a one-sentence footnote that said, by the way, we've updated the data for 2022. No mention that it went from a drop to an increase. No discussion about why they made the change or what was behind the change. And even once it became public, and some of the conservative media covered the fact that the data had changed and that all those news stories were wrong over the previous year. The FBI, even when it was approached by the media, couldn't bring itself to explicitly acknowledge that the crime data had increased. They could only say that we stand by our data, and which is really disappointing, doing that right up to the election. I mean, I suspect strongly that it had some impact on the election, or the Democrats and the government and the Democrats and the media and the politicians wouldn't have pushed the claim that crime was falling as much as they did.
Yeah, I'll take us to the break with this. Of course it had an impact on the election. There's no doubt. That's why it was done. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. I wasn't there. But this is the way people, with the corruption as rampant as it was in the last administration, the administration was working in the DOJ, and someone was told, manipulate the data. It had to be that way. And I've never understood, as we go to the break, why ABC News, in particular ABC News, because they were moderating the debate with Trump, when those numbers came up and Trump said that that was wrong and he was talking about the FBI. I've never understood why the media didn't come out and correct it when it wasn't their fault. They were, in fact, actually reporting the numbers from the FBI, but they remained silent. All stinks of being complicit, ladies and gentlemen. It's a smokescreen. You were gaslighted. We'll be back. 2 more segments with John Lott and a new study from John as well.
Daniel Defense firearms are guaranteed for life, trusted worldwide, and designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in America. Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, precision.
Freedom, passion, and precision is a beautiful thing, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the SIG SAUER Studios. Mark Walters in front of the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center microphone, powerful microphone, hitting about 60, 65 stations around the country. I've lost count. And, of course, live for you on multiple social media platforms. If you never want to miss an episode, please make sure to subscribe to Armed American Radio Podcast on your favorite podcast platform. We are closing in on 21 million show downloads. That's a remarkable number, and thank you for that as we continue to expand and continue to get the message out there every single day. And just because Trump's in office, don't think your guns are safe. They're not. We're going to talk a little bit about some of that with R Lott here in just a moment. But before I do that, please make sure to visit all of our partners. You can find them at armedamericanradio.com. BarrelBuddy.com. Clean your guns the right way. Pitch the patch. Get with the program. Barrel Buddy's got you covered. Like $14.98 for a pack of 50. 2 swipes. Your gun's clean. Right there at the range. Put it right back in your range bag. Stick it back in your holster. Whatever you want to do. Your gun is clean. Patented technology from BarrelBuddy.com. Visit BarrelBuddy.com and take advantage of that. Dr. Lott, welcome back to the program, my friend. Always a pleasure. So you have, go ahead, John. Were you going to say something?
No, it's great to be back on. Thanks.
Always a pleasure. Greg and I had an interesting conversation during the break. We were talking about Ukraine and what we thought Trump was going to do in Gaza. It's really not a part of this conversation, but I am curious from an economic standpoint. I was thinking about this while you were talking before, because you are an economist, and this has come up a number of times. Are the tariffs, the left is going crazy, the tariffs are going to raise prices on Americans. How do you see that whole thing playing out as an economist? Let's get away from guns and crime for just a minute and talk about that economically, because it's millions and millions of Americans are concerned about what's happening economically in this country. And the left is trying to drive that narrative that Trump's tariffs are going to drive us into an extreme recession, et cetera. How do you see all that playing out?
Well, I mean, generally, as an economist, you believe in trade. You think both parties benefit from trade. When you pay me the big bucks for being on the radio show with you, I value the money you're paying me more than, I'm just joking about the money, but I value.
It's not big money, ladies and gentlemen. It's huge money.
You value the food more than the money that you're giving them, and the reverse is true. And so both parties gain. And the same thing is true with trade. When Trump talks about the fact that, Mexico is taking $300 billion from us or whatever in terms of goods trade, or Canada gets $250 million, I don't view that as them taking it. It's just, and the other thing you have to understand is you have capital goods markets, services markets, and goods. And if you run a deficit, that means you buy more goods from them than they buy from you. Then the other, the services market, for example, you have to be selling them more services like lawyers and other things like that than they're buying from you. And presumably also they're investing more in your country than you're investing in their country. And so things have to balance off. If you ran a deficit in all those 3 accounts, then the value of the dollar would fall until it was attractive for them to go and buy more of your products than you were buying from them. But look, that's the kind of the normal economist view on it, and I think that's basically right. But at the same time, I understand Trump's opinion here that you have bad things that are happening. You have, the massive border problems that are there, the illegals coming across, and this is a stick that Trump can use, and it's a much bigger percentage of their economies, our trade with them, than their trade is with us. And so, if it's going to have some impact on us, it's going to have a huge impact on them. And Trump, was able to stare them down, both Canada and Mexico, and get them to make promises that they were going to work to control the border. One of the problems with Canada is they've been letting in all sorts of people into Canada, not really vetting them very well. And then those people try to sneak across the border into the United States. Canada needs to do a better job of vetting who they let into their own country to begin with and follow their own laws on those types of things. And also put more resources on the border there. And the same with Mexico. So, Mexico's just been letting people freely go across the whole length of their country from the south to the north without interfering with them at all in getting across. And, they have their own laws that they've kind of ignored. So I think there's strong points to make about, Trump using those types of levers. And with Europe and other places, he's essentially saying, you have tariffs on our goods that we don't have tariffs on yours. And so he's essentially asking for, a balance there that we're going to treat their goods the same as they treat ours. I don't think that's necessary, but I understand where he's coming from on that. So I guess in general, I think so far he's proven to be right in terms of his negotiation skills on these things and knowing how far he can push things.
Well, I thought Colombia was a great example. The left went crazy when he threatened tariffs on coffee, and they said, your price of your coffee is going to go up. Well, not really, because there's other places to get coffee. And what's going to wind up happening is Colombia is going to lose the U.S. market. So Colombia capitulated immediately and began taking their own illegal immigrants back home on their own flights at their own dime. So it was effective. I was curious what you thought about that. John, I want to start the conversation here because you have a piece up from the 13th, just about 7 days ago, a deep dive into cases where civilians stopped active shooters. Did they accidentally shoot bystanders, get in the way of police, get their gun taken away, or create other problems? And I want to start with a piece from AWR Hawkins today. Alleged would-be mass shooter in supermarket parking lot dead after good guy with a gun opens fire. This happened in Albemarle County, Virginia, Crozet, Virginia, just Monday afternoon when a good guy with a gun, John, drew his own gun.
The Harris Teeter.
Yeah, at the Harris Teeter in Albemarle County. And I quote from the Albemarle County PD. Officers believe that the suspect began shooting in the parking lot, striking two others. A Good Samaritan who was exiting Harris Teeter engaged the suspected shooter with their personal weapon. The suspected shooter was pronounced deceased at the scene. The Good Samaritan was uninjured in the shooting. Now, we're going to hear music. We're going to get to the break, but if you would, just start us there. Unfortunately, I'll have to cut you off. And then I want to take it from there into what your piece up on crimeresearch.org, because it's fascinating and it ties together.
Right. Well, I mean, we've talked before that the FBI misses a lot of these defensive gun uses in their active shooting reports. But, it's more than that. We basically try to look at the data more carefully just to see if it kind of matches the impressions you get from watching the media. And as we'll go through, the media, the entertainment police shows and what have you don't do a very good job of reflecting reality.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that John and I have talked about for a long time. And when I hear you say they miss it in their reports, that begs this question. Do they just miss it in their reports and they know about it and fail to report it? That would be my educated guess. Or do they miss it altogether? So I'll let you start that answer about 30 seconds. Go ahead. Did they really miss it, or did they just fail to report it?
Well, I mean, I suppose anything can be accidental to begin with, but I told them about these cases, and they still haven't fixed it. And even in cases where you get them to admit that they missed something, even years later, they still haven't fixed it. And nobody needs to take my word for it. On our website at crimeresearch.org, we list out these cases. We have links to the underlying evidence on them so people can double check and see that, in fact, these cases do match the FBI definition, and they're missing them. And there's so many.
All right, John, hold on to that. When we come back, I want to take people to this piece from crimeresearch.org, a deep dive into cases where civilians stopped active shooters. And we just mentioned one. We'll be right back. Camera's on.
This segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Daniel Defense. Visit DanielDefense.com. Now, back to the show.
Back to the show indeed. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day here in the SIG Sauer studios, Monday through Friday. And, of course, we're on the Patriot Mobile Command Center microphones, all being brought to you by the great X Insurance. If you need coverage for anything, doesn't matter what it is, X Insurance will write you a policy, even if it's for a one-time event. Maybe it's for gap coverage. Maybe you got lots of guns. Maybe you want to cover the guns in your car or your truck. X Insurance has you covered. Make sure to reach out to them. We've made it easy to do. Just visit armedamericanradio.com, click on that X banner, and boom, it'll take you right where you need to be. And you can pick the phone up, make a phone call, and get right there with somebody in underwriting, and they will start the process for you. You can find all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com. Don't forget Crossbreed Holsters, Defender Coffee, and Emerson Knives. I like to show this knife because I use it here in the studio. I use it all the time. I'm cutting something open. Just cut something open like today I got for my guitar. Opened up the box with an Emerson knife. EmersonKnives.com, promo code AAR. See how simple that is? And you get 10% off all the fine products produced right here in the United States by Ernie Emerson and his family. EmersonKnives.com. Again, all of our partners, including MyPillow and the rest, all can be found at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. It takes you right where you need to go. Right there. Simple as that. Support them for supporting your right to bear arms and this program for the last 16 years. On the phone, Dr. John Lott. We're going to continue the conversation and what time we have left. John, the piece is a deep dive into cases where civilians stopped active shooters. Did they accidentally shoot bystanders, get in the way of police, get their gun taken away, or create other problems? The other side's always telling us, oh, cops aren't going to know what's happening when whether the good guy's the good guy or the good guy's the bad guy. The civilians are going to get shot because civilians with guns, they're not police officers. They're not trained like police officers are. What happens in situations like this most of the time, and what are the main takeaways from this active shooter column that you have at crimeresearch.org?
Right. Well, it's that those types of fears are, not accurate. That's not what happens. If you go through, so there are 180 cases from 2014 to 2023 where civilians with concealed handguns stopped active shooter attacks. This isn't all of them. This doesn't include cases where the active shooter hadn't actually fired his gun yet. But if you look at the cases where the active shooter was the first to fire their gun, what you find is that, there's one out of those 180 cases where the permit holder accidentally shot a bystander. There's 0 cases where the permit holder got in the way of the police trying to stop the attack. There's 1 case where the permit holder out of the 180 had their gun taken away from them. And there are 2 cases where the permit holders were shot and killed in, behaving heroically and trying to save other people that were there. So you're talking about, even in that case, about 1% of the cases where that you had that bad outcome happen. In the other cases, it was either 0 or, half of 1%. So it, some of these things happen out, but it's so incredibly rare. And the number of lives saved by these people are huge. I mean, God only knows how many people's lives would have been put in danger if what could have been mass public shootings, for example, weren't stopped by these individuals.
Just Monday in Virginia is a prime example. We'll never know how many lives were saved. And, of course, we have the infamous case in Indiana at the mall. Who knows how many more people would have been killed had it not been for that permit holder who took a hell of a shot from many feet away and dropped that perp. We'll never know the answer. It's always baffled me why the media never covers these, simply because they're phenomenal human interest stories to begin with, where people like the good guy prevailing and the underdog, and let's face it, it's easy to frame something like that. You've got a guy that's shooting something up, everybody there's the underdog, and then you've got the underdog that responds and stops it. It just has always baffled me why the media never covers these. But I get it, right? If it bleeds, it leads. It's anti-gun. They don't like the fact, they don't want to portray gun owners as They give us this excuse that they don't want to create more armed vigilantes and all of this nonsense. But, John, none of that plays out, and your statistics prove that time after time after time. And I'm hopeful with Kash Patel at the head of the FBI that some of this accurate reporting will make it into the lexicon at the FBI. Are you cautiously optimistic that that's the case?
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope so. I mean, if anybody's going to be able to do it, it's Kash, and Kash surely has the ability. And I think we're kind of, with the current administration, have kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to go and fix some of this stuff. As I mentioned at the beginning of our broadcast, if you let people control the data, you let people distort the data, you give them the ability to go and control the debate. And, you got to be very careful about that.
And we've lost the narrative. We've lost control of the narrative for a long time. With a couple minutes that we have remaining, it's yet again the Fourth Circuit assault weapons ban case, now known as the Snopes case, has been distributed for Supreme Court for tomorrow's conference. And this is going to have a huge impact, ladies and gentlemen. Just to tease this, coming up on Sunday's broadcast for an hour, we'll be having a little roundtable with a number of activists in Colorado. Colorado, wow, there's the bill moving in the House now that will literally ban most semi-automatic firearms, all of them. And Governor Paulus has signaled that he may sign that. Little bit of a problem there, though, John, because he's got designs on higher office, Senate or president at some point. Signing this gun ban is not going to age well for him. So at least they're trying to push that narrative in an effort to keep him from signing what is going to clear the House in Colorado, ladies and gentlemen. It just is. It's going to wind up on his desk. So here we have this
Democrats have a supermajority, I believe, in both houses.
They do. It's already cleared the Senate. Go ahead, John.
And, so I don't know. They've already made some changes to the bill to try to, make it so that the governor will have to sign it. So they haven't completely just banned these guns. What they've done is they said that, well, you can still get it, but you have to go through essentially the same process that you have to go to get a concealed carry permit. And then there are all sorts of classes that somebody has to take, literally many, many hours, like the hunter safety course you have to take. You have to take additional course over and above that.
30.
I assume the hunter safety course, you're probably talking about something that maybe, takes place over months or so. I don't know exactly how many hours are required for that, but I assume it's non-trivial. And, they're just making it very costly, very difficult for you to even own one of these guns in your home and for self-protection. And I suspect, eventually, whether it's this term, maybe they'll make a decision. I'm amazed that they're still considering taking a case this late in the term here.
That's a good sign
maybe
to me,
they'll take
John.
it.
That's a good sign to me. I'm sorry I have to stop you, but Greg interrupted us with the end of the show music, so we have to cut it there. But I will say this, ladies and gentlemen, it's why what happens tomorrow in conference with the Supreme Court is going to have a huge impact on what might come out of the legislature in Colorado and go to Paulus's desk, because it could end it all. And like John was just alluding to, here they are looking at it so late right now. To me, that's a great sign. That's my eternal optimism. Dr. Lott, thank you for being here. CrimeResearch.org, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to visit CrimeResearch.org and support him. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. We're going to get up and do it again tomorrow because they don't want us to. Guest will be Paul Markle, student of the gun. We'll see you on the radio.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented